scorpions are just mean little fucking assholes. And tarantulas, I like looking at them. I'm totally cool with them being there. Thought I was totally okay with them. Had one shoot up my arm and I squeaked and I don't like touching them. But I like looking at them.
I can't do spiders.
No, I'm cool on that too. Snakes and spiders and tortoises.
Okay.
And
yeah, I'll kill a spider. Yeah.
I'm cool on.
I'll kill one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta see what this little criminal's trying to do right here.
I know, but yeah, as far as the dog training, I really, really, really love kind of opposite end of the spectrum. Love setting up puppies. I get really, really excited when people will reach out with a brand new puppy and they're like, I just want to make sure this dog ends up being a good dog. And I am all about it and all over it. And really kind of try to advocate a lot for starting super young because I mean, you start them off on the right path and they're less likely to end up rehomed or in a shelter.
Totally.
So I really enjoy that part of it. But then I also really just love when somebody's like, this dog wants to bite everybody. And I'm like,
right.
Cool.
I'm like, sweet.
Let me at it. Let's figure this out. Let's work through this.
I just imagine you're creepy like, yes, bring him to me. Step into my web.
Basically. And then, you know, like they show up with this like 90-pound German Shepherd and I'm relatively a small human and they have it on like a big old prong collar and I'm just like, cool, here's a slip lead, put it on, pass it to me. And they're just like, what? You want me to do what?
Oh,
like,
also she trains in skirts and heels with full makeup. Like
you what? Sorry.
You train what?
Everyone like, gets to sit out that I
you train in skirts.
Oh, you train in skirts and heels. Oh, I see.
That's pretty dope.
With like a full face of makeup and like.
So like this is your swag right here, exactly how we see you.
Yeah, no, like this is just how I dress 24/7.
So it's like Wednesday Addams walking down the street with like an aggressive German Shepherd.
I fucking love that. Or Sabrina the Teenage Witch just popping your Shepherd like.
Like I mean the initial like I don't know this dog and I'm doing the early stages of training. I'll put on pants for that part, just and flat shoes just on the off chance that stuff is not going great. But yeah, once I know the dog and they're doing great, then I'm just like, skirt.
I love that recipe. Like I really love that recipe. Like, have you guys ever had like food that you're like, I didn't know you could put apples on a pizza, but this is divine. You know what I mean? Like,
divine.
to see you working a high drive or an aggressive dog in that a skirt and a dress and like, you know, I'm like, I want to see that. Like,
well, sure, that's just cute cool. When she does it, and then I do it. And
I can't do it.
Yeah, Mariano, it'd be cute if you did it too.
Yeah,
I would 100% support you if you want to just do it. It's definitely interesting because I will take both of mine out together, and so it's just me and skirt and heels and looking like this with an all black German Shepherd and then the Malinois mix that he looks very Malinois. And people are just like, how? What are you doing?
Right.
Like, I'm just out for a cup of coffee, enjoying life.
That's when you hand out a card like, bitch, let me show you here, you know, and then just walk away.
Stay.
Yeah.
Give him a card.
Right.
I just look like everyone's like lesbian soccer mom in my yoga pants and like tank top and my hip bag that has all my stuff in it.
Your fanny pack. Yeah.
Hip bag. Don't try to cover what a fanny pack is.
It is a fanny pack. You want to see it? Hold on.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yes.
Ooh,
oh, look, it's 1986.
Yeah, that's actually a nice one. That's a modern one.
That actually is kind of cool looking. Yeah. It is a little cool looking.
Pockets and
in there.
I could fit 2 cell phones in here. This is my purse.
Shoot.
No, it's a fanny pack.
We don't need no purse.
I can wear it across as well.
That's my favorite treat pouch is the one that you left me. That's the one I use all the time. It does clash though with the rest of the aesthetic.
The whole aesthetic. Yeah.
I haven't found like a vintage looking training pouch just yet.
You need like Hermione's purse. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would like match the
Can you guys stop just chewing on each other? Can you not?
Who had a good treat pouch that I still love is Tom Davis. When we interviewed Tom Davis in person.
Yeah, that multicolored one.
He had this multicolored treat pouch, and I was like, "Where'd you get that?" He's like, "I got it in Kentucky, man." And he rocks it. If you watch all his videos, he rocks the same treat pouch in every single video.
Yeah, I have like 8 of these, and I use this one as a purse, and the rest of them I use as training bags.
Do we
Love
get
it.
some as keepsakes because we've been on the
Yeah,
show?
yeah. Do we get one
No.
that says "Let's Talk Dog"?
She said no.
Dang.
I have a cool one I just got in today. Actually, it's red, my tree pouch, and I love that I found a red one.
Yeah, love
I
that.
have so many. I have ones with koalas on them too.
Oh yeah.
Koala.
I have
Oh,
a
random.
very small problem where if I find something and I use it and it becomes something that I really like using and that I find useful, I will buy it in all of the colors.
I do the same, but I buy it all in the exact
Shirts.
same color so that I have
Oh.
like a bunch of them. Like I'm one person, and I have no exaggeration at all, 6 of the same treat pouch. And now that I found that red one that I like, I was gonna order like 3 more. I'm not kidding at all. I have this, like, my fiance calls it my too much gene, you know.
I
So
have that gene too.
yeah, exactly. Right. So like I have right now.
It's called hoarding, guys.
You're right. Well, and again, I'm
It's
one
not
person.
hoarding. I use all of them. It's not
I'm
hoarding if you use them.
Right. Yeah. Right. I'm one person. I must have right now, no joke, like in different widths and lengths and stuff, 30 tug toys, you know. And to a point, it's useful because again, they're different lengths and materials, and you know, you can use like French linen, bite suit, jute, like whatever. But I have like 2 or 3 of the same ones. I have like 2 or 3 of the same different, like, of the colors of the, you know. I just need to, like, I like the feeling of having them, and also I'm super forgetful. So when I have enough of something, I can like leave one in the car and leave one here and leave one there, you know. So that helps me a lot.
I have like
Still
70 clickers. They're spread out throughout my entire house and all of my cars.
You know what's weird? You know what's super weird? Clickers, for whatever reason, I know precisely how to put them away, and I always remember to do it, and I always remember where to, like, for some sure, just the clickers, they're, I know exactly where in the dog room they are right now, and I swear that is the only thing I never have to look for. I'm not kidding at all. Like, it's just the clicker only. I can't find markers. I can't find my whiteboards. I can't find anything but the freaking clickers.
Yeah.
I
no
know where
idea
none
where
of my
any of my
clickers are right now.
Oh, I couldn't hear anything you guys said. Say that again.
Go ahead, Alexis.
I've got no idea where any of my clickers are. They
Yeah.
grew and
Me
walked
either.
away when I moved states, and I have not found them yet.
Oh yeah. It's like
I know
socks
that if I go and look at my treat pouches, each treat pouch will have at least 3.
Clickers inside of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the treats.
The bottom of the treats is at
You're like,
least
"That's
3
what it
clickers.
is." Yeah. So I misplace things all the time. So I literally counted today. I had 7 treat pouches in my car.
Yep.
And my staff was like, "Where are all the treat pouches going?" I was like, "I don't know."
I bet you were like, "Are you guys taking the treat pouches home?" Like,
I
make
was
sure
like,
you check your
I
house.
was like, I was mad at them. I was like, "You guys are probably losing them." No, they're in my fucking car,
Wow.
and they're just there. So that's. I had a client once, going back to hoarding. She goes, "It's only hoarding if you can't afford it, baby." And I was like, "What?"
Damn, she hit you with these straight Austin Powers, though.
Yeah,
She was like, it's only hoarding if you can't
what's
afford it,
funny-
baby.
Well, and what's funny is like so you know how like there are some clients, I don't get it in America. There's some like upper echelon of a human that has like a fake English accent, but they're not from England. But I don't know if
Oh, it's the wasp accent.
yeah, there you go. And they're like, I like they just say things like slightly English, literally told to me in that accent, where it's just like it's only, you know, it's only hoarding if you can't afford it, honey. You know, and there was like this, I can't do a good impression of it.
I
but
imagine the word darling, you know, like it's only
darling,
hoarding if you can
darling,
afford it, darling.
Darling. Yeah.
You know,
It's like
Cruella
that
de Vil.
transatlantic white Anglo-Saxon Protestant upper
Mhm,
crust new money accent. Yeah.
All those
I think it's an old money
adjectives,
accent.
yes. All of the
You
old
know.
money accent. Exactly. It was old money for sure.
Yeah.
On like a really weird, interesting offshoot, talking to me, unless I have enough wine, I can stay in a normal English accent or American accent. But people read when I write, and everyone's always like, "Are you from across the pond?"
Because you're all like thee and thou and this.
I don't-
It's,
Wow.
it's the problem of it's the problem that all of us who are super intensive readers have. And that is our vocabularies are huge, but we can only pronounce half the words because we've never actually heard most of them said out loud.
Right.
We've only
That's
read them.
interesting.
do either
That's so
of you say for, like, you know,
4.
yeah, like, you know, I
Therefore,
ordered a pizza for I was hungry.
before I was hungry.
Like, do you
No.
say words like that, like that are out of the average for like the American?
No, because I was in the Navy and most of my sentences contain several cuss words.
I see.
Not
I clean it up for the podcast.
but they pop up in my writing. I also apparently just read too much and spell things the British English way. So color
The
has a
U.
U.
Oh, I
There's
see.
like
I
a
see. I
U in
see.
it. Yeah.
Favor has
Leader.
a U.
Right.
And
Shop.
Again, like have read too much. So every now and again, like bloody is a swear word.
Okay.
Um,
You guys are so intelligent. I feel so dumb right now.
I know, right?
I've
Moving
only
on.
I've only read those books. I only own books I've read, and that's it. That's those books. My whole
Really?
life. Those are all the books that I've read in my life.
I'm making myself feel better internally by reminding myself I listen to audiobooks.
Yes.
I don't
That
have
is
patience
true.
for audiobooks. They make me sleepy.
I
love 'em.
have to speed them up and then they sound like chipmunks.
There are I know exactly what you mean. There are and by the way, a little top tip. I only buy the audiobook unless I really want it. I only will buy it if the actual author reads it.
Ah,
And there are programs out there that you can tone down the pitch of the voice so you can speed it up and sound still normal.
Ooh, okay, good to know because yeah, I get super frustrated with them, and so I just
I know exactly what you mean. I know
Yeah, you're
exactly
like, I'm
exactly
tired
what
I
you
of
mean.
just fall
Alvin and
asleep.
Simon reading me.
Yeah,
Dostoevsky.
and I'm the human that like devours an 800-page book in one sitting,
No
Damn.
shit.
and it's probably not.
Are you
healthy.
like a super fast reader? Like, are you a speed reader?
both of us are.
How long does it take you
Dude,
guys to read an 800
That's a
page book?
skill.
If I don't have to do anything else, I can read an 800-page book in a day.
Phew. But like how much of that day is actually reading?
Half of it.
How much eating do you do in that day?
I don't have a regular eating schedule anyway.
Oh,
Do
perfect.
I? Yeah,
Do
food.
you like
What is
hug
food?
your family, or
No.
do you like
No.
use the bathroom?
Just take the book with you
You
to
just
the
take the book
bathroom.
with
Yeah,
you.
you take the book with you.
Yeah, that you can do because I take my laptop with me to the bathroom and like
Yeah,
do
true.
emails and stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, I
Y'all
just
spend a
dive-
lot of time in the bathroom.
I do. Yeah.
The bathroom is a man's like.
Yeah. It's
is
the
right there.
throne.
You
It's
can't.
a break
Yeah.
room. It's a break room.
Yeah.
actually.
You guys are needy.
I
Like, I'm
apologize
in-
if you guys
I'm
keep
in
hearing
my
weird
bedroom.
sounds.
I'm in my bedroom and I'm
Um,
working, kind of. You know, like this is
Yeah,
kind of work. It's dog related ish.
it's sort of, kind of.
But-
So
but
what
in the
made you guys
bathroom-
decide to start a podcast?
Ooh, I got my story, but he has his story.
So go ahead with your story.
Honestly, I knew nothing about fucking podcasts. I didn't know
Yeah.
shit. I didn't know anything. All I know is that I really like teaching stuff and I really like explaining things. And I really like breaking stuff down. Ever since I was a kid, when I was in third grade, I would help first grade classes. When I was in fifth grade, I would like come in on my breaks and help because we had like different track systems in elementary school, right? So like some days I'd be off track and then I would come and I would help my third grade teacher. I was in fifth grade. I would help the third grade teachers learn or the third grade kids how to like learn multiplication tables or something, right? Like I just like teaching things that I learned and I like breaking shit down and try to challenge myself. Like, how do I make this easier for people to digest? And so, you know, that's always kind of been how I've been through schooling and college and everything, and definitely in dog training. So it naturally put me in this skill set to like teach people shit. So I've always had a passion for teaching and explaining things and learning and absorbing. And, you know, instead of like from books, because I wasn't much of a reader, I was a listener. And so I loved watching things from performances and speakers and things like that. And I'd be able to collect all those dots in my head. I'd be able to connect all those dots, you know, and then I'd be able to synthesize it to be super simple and then explain the key components of what I learned to people. So that's my strength. And then I met Mariano. Go ahead.
And
Is
Mariano.
that how the podcast started?
Well, here's how the podcast.
That's just how my career. That's how my career started.
Here's how the
Mariano.
podcast started. So, I guess just to echo really, really quick is English isn't my first language. So I've always had a fascination with language, and I've always had a fascination with outside of like the words you speak, because obviously languages are different. the culture of the language affects the way you say something. Like in English, I would say that's a red car, whereas in Spanish, I say es un carro rojo, right? And it wouldn't make sense to say like car red in English. But I also would love the way that people have, like, even the mannerisms are different. Like somebody would move their hands and fluctuate the tonality of their voice differently in English versus Spanish. And I've always had this huge fascination with that. And uh, anyway, so the way this podcast started was Brent and I have known each other for years and years, and we've been great friends. We had worked together, and we also like we're that rare, we're that rare like set of friends that not only do we get along well as friends, but we both work super hard, and we have like a similar work ethic to us, right? So I was podcasting professionally when I lived in California for a company up in Sacramento called Golden State Media Concepts. I did 4 shows for them. I did 80 something episodes for them. Um, each of the shows were different. It was like a music review, a movie review, social media news, and a health and wellness podcast. And I had co-hosts and stuff on every one, but I knew how to shoot it. I knew how to edit. I know how to run a show. I know how to conduct interviews. I know how to do this and this. And I've always had a love for it. But it's hard to conduct a podcast without someone else to like to without a friend. So I came up with the idea for the podcast right like just before the COVID lockdowns, whenever that was. It was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago,
like
right?
January of 2020.
Yeah, well, the lockdown happened like in March something. I remember that, right? So we started talking about it like in January, and we actually started like 2 weeks before. It was like late February. But that was the birth of the podcast. Was Brent has always loved teaching, and again, I know Brent. He's a good friend of mine, so I know he loves teaching, and I know that he's been wanting to get into more teaching as opposed to just like day-to-day dog training. And so we're just formulating our ideas like, hey man, so like what's next, right? Like where can we go from here, And I was like, let's start a podcast. We get to teach, we get to do this, get to do this, get this. On the back end, I know how to like blah, 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 blah. And we just come up with this idea.
And I was like, I know how to video edit. Like,
yeah, and we just kind of threw our like our talents together, and in our head we were like, yeah, and in like 2-3 years it'll get this many downloads and this and that, and then it got that many downloads in like 6 months, and we're like, all right, well then let's go to New York. Okay, let's go to St. Louis. Okay, let's go. So we just kept kind of pushing, but that was the start of the podcast.
Yeah, in the beginning, like so I made something because I like teaching. Like I know how I like to absorb information, right? I know how I need a section. Like I want to watch a puppy training video. I want to watch a leash training video. I want to watch a video on the solar system. I don't want to see a science video, like about all the sciences, right? So, and the biggest arguing point that me and Mariano had was like, he goes, the cool thing about podcasts is you just kind of talk about whatever you want, and you get some good guests on, and then you just kind of, and there was no organization to it. And for me, I was just like, I fucking hate that. I hate that idea. I hate that idea of just talking about nonsense. And mind you, we're doing this because this is your podcast. But in my podcast, or in our podcast, if I was going to do a podcast, there had to be a theme. There had to be something where the listener was like, I just learned how to build my dog training business, like marketing wise, or I just learned how to do social media, or I just learned whatever. But whatever this says on the title is what you're going to learn, and you can digest that pill and take it in, right? And that was our negotiation, was just like, if we're going to do a podcast, it needs to be themed. Whatever it is we decide to talk about, it's going to be about that. And it's not going to float and go here and all this other place. There has to be. So because of that, we've had we have outlines. We have questions that we think we're going to ask, but we at least have a general format to the podcast. And it's so crazy to get people, on Instagram and Facebook, and people just be like, I really love how informative your podcast is. And I really love how much value it's brought. And I just started my business three months ago, and I'm already seeing more better dog training coming out from me. And those people you recommended were great. And so because we stayed narrow in what we talk about in the episode, we found that it was able to impact people harder, like with a higher intensity. So that was something really, really cool.
Well, and mind you guys too, the form and the function of it it's something that, like, some things aren't dichotomies. Like you can have structure and still be easy breezy. And that was like essentially the crux of our of our disagreement, like early on, was like, well, let's do it like this, and it's like, well, it can be like that, but just keep it simple, like keep it easy, don't make it sound so like, okay, and now we're going to move on to step number 2, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And so we really found, I think anyway, like I've been really happy with our episodes for like the past, I don't know, 20 episodes. And mind you, on the side, I make it a point to look up proper journalistic practice, how to conduct an interview, how to ask the right questions, how to get them to tell their story, how to do this and this, how to pace it out, how to, and it's, I think between us two, I'm also the one who listens to more podcasts. So I just kind of, I try to listen for what I like in a show. And I think that we've really found a great flow of the information is concise and somebody does know what they're getting. And Brent had a great point when he started that too. And and it can be kind of easy breezy because also we're just two stupid friends who talk about like dumb stuff while we're at it anyway. So like it ends up being kind of funny and lighthearted anyway. I look at it like the information is the pill, but us being funny around it is the sugar, right? And it just kind of helps it all sink in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just Norca and Rachel were talking about constantly how they want to do a podcast. They want to do an all-female podcast. And I was like, I had to listen to it for like 3 months randomly, just interspersed. And so finally I just put it all together and added them all to a group and then threw Alexis in because I force friended her. I informed her we were friends and then we were friends.
Just so you know,
and
we're friends.
chucked her in the mix and I was like, okay, here's everything we need. Everything is set up. Let's do it.
That's what I did to Amy Lee from Evanescence. I informed her that she was my wife and I love her.
No, that's dope.
You're probably not the only one.
No, I am.
She's definitely polygamy.
I mean,
but yeah, that's how ours came about. And we've got some organization to it in as much as I go through and I contact people to have on the podcast and we talk about stuff like with you guys. I knew that we've been talking a lot about podcasting. With the next interview we have is with a trainer in the Netherlands who does breeding and KNPB. And I know nothing about that stuff.
Is it Nino Dowert?
No, it's Monteferland Canine, I think.
Oh,
I can't
okay.
to be honest. And then we have another one that's another set overseas in either the Netherlands or somewhere like that, somewhere where the cold lives, which is not where I go.
Right.
That we have that we're working out scheduling as well. So like we've been trying to branch out into things beyond just talking to dog trainers.
Yeah.
Which is why we're like, okay, well, let's have the dog trainers podcast guys on because that's dog related and we'll have a lot of dog stuff, but also podcasting is hard.
Yeah, no, it is. It is hard, and you find a win of like a rhythm to it. Yeah,
because our first season was only 12 episodes, and we were just talking to trainers. So this season we're talking to trainers, vet techs, breeders, service dog handlers, groomers, veterinarians, decoys. We've got 2. I've got 2 of them lined up already.
Cool.
Like we're stretching it out into a broader range of things. I even have there's a company called Fucking Be Pretty, and they make really awesome collars and like leashes and stuff that are beautiful like patterns. But then they say stuff like the one that one of my dogs has on right now says "hot fucking mess," worked into the patterning.
I love that.
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself.
Yep.
Say that again.
They do it as their passion, their passion for like their passion project, and they work in conjunction with rescues and things like that. But it's interesting and it's in the canine world. So I was like, cool, well, I'm gonna go poke at them. So we're trying to go with Gian. Hold on one sec.
If you guys hear snoring, it's either an old German Shepherd or a young English Mastiff, or both.
Sweet.
Or both. Yeah.
Or both.
So we're just trying to step out of just dog trainers,
Yeah.
so that it's not just a kind of single entity. Because Let's Talk Dog doesn't say any specifics.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to go catch my other boxer real quick. I'll be right back.
No worries. Well, so Alexis, how did you get roped into this whole thing? She said she force friended you. What does that mean?
Basically, like I was just informed, like, hey, you're doing this.
Uh,
I had a girl once tell me, "You're my boyfriend," and I was like, "Okay,
okay.
okay."
Which
Sweet.
I mean, at this point in life, that's kind of how it goes. Of like, I got moved to Missouri because, again, another person was like, "You're my friend now, and you need to get out of Utah." And I was like, "No, like I can stick it out in Utah." And then I hit kind of breaking point. I was like, "Are you sure you want me?" And she was like, "Fuck yeah, you're coming out here." I kind of just do what I'm told, and whatever people tell me, I'm like, I will figure it out. We'll do this.
Got it.
And
I have a
do
big
much better when
personality.
I know like this is what our topic is, and I can like research and put together thoughts. When it's really random, I'm just like,
So
Hey.
can I ask you a kind of personal question? So
go for it.
so you're from Utah. Did you grow up LDS?
So I'm not originally from Utah.
Okay.
I'm originally from Southern California.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Moved to Utah when I was like 13.
Okay.
But my family was LDS when we were in California.
What's
and then,
LDS?
Latter-day Saints.
Oh,
So just so you know, I grew up Mormon my whole life.
really?
Yeah, till I was 15, and then I was like, religion.
All right.
sucks.
So did you leave the church, or are you just a Jack Mormon?
What does that mean, Jack Mormon?
A Jack Mormon is a Mormon who doesn't go to church versus officially leaving the church.
No, I didn't sign any paperwork. Yeah, I just haven't gone to church since I was 15.
You have to sign
know,
paperwork to
As
leave?
To leave any church formally, you have to sign paperwork to leave a church formally.
Yeah,
Really?
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, but this is how they find you, though. They do find you. The Mormon missionaries. They'll be like, knock knock. How'd you know where I live?
Oh, because of the paperwork?
GPS. They're like GPS. That's how I know.
Yeah.
But
They've chipped you.
I grew up LDS, and it was funny because in Southern California, being a Latin Mormon is very different than being a white Mormon. So it's a very like we had like salsa dances at our like youth groups. Like it was different. It was very different.
I like might have been okay with that.
Yeah.
I really struggle, and it's funny now because now I live in skirts, and if you catch me wearing pants, that's like a rare thing.
Yeah.
But when I was, and it was very much a forced, like I was forced to attend church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, cool, well, I'm gonna wear like slacks and a button down and a tie then, because at that point in life, I don't know what I was doing, but I was very anti dresses and skirts and kind of was just a tomboy. And they had such an issue with that. And like I was very on the outskirts of things, and I didn't agree with any of it and was just there because I was being forced to attend, and it made just life difficult because we moved to this place where if you weren't part of it, then you were kind of a social reject.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it was interesting. And then now I'm in Missouri and I have yet to see an LDS church, and it's the weirdest thing in the world.
You're like, normally they're everywhere.
Yeah, normally like every corner has a church, and now
they're like Starbucks is like in like you find one all over the place.
Yeah, and I'm just dreading the day that the missionaries like knock on the door.
Yeah.
Because I know it'll happen eventually.
Hi, elders, how are you doing? Yeah. Anyways, if you guys don't know anything about the Mormon Church, honestly, I'll tell you this: the reason I am a good person, like morally, and why I even asked my dad once. I said, "Yo, Dad, remember when we used to get in trouble? And remember after we'd get in trouble and you'd send us to our rooms and we'd be crying, you would always come back after and reconcile. And you'd be like, I love you. This is why you got in trouble. This is why this happened." And I said, "How did you know how to do that?" Because we do that in dog training all the time, right? After a big punishment, you have to reconcile. And I was like, "Who taught you to do that?" And he goes, "Honestly, the church. The church teaches that to parents. Like you have to be strict sometimes, but you
Depends on the church.
True, I totally get that.
Right.
This church particularly, but then you have to love them and let them know that you love them. And I was just like, well, if there's a lot of good things that came from growing up this way, like the positive thinking, the way I think, like, like, don't get me wrong, I felt like I felt shameful for a lot of things growing up that I didn't need to feel shameful for, but there's a lot of good that came from having the structure, having the order, just like dogs, right? Like when like if you have structure, you learn to appreciate that structure as you get older and later in life. And so um this is, again, we're not talking about politics or religion necessarily, but I'm down. I'm just not down for it right now in my life. And I liked growing up LDS because I didn't know any better. But at the same time, there's a lot of positive things that happen from it. But I'm just not into organized religion in general.
Yeah, I hear that. I grew up straight Mexican Catholic,
Mhm.
like I'm first generation parents from Mexico. I spent a lot of my childhood in Mexico. So I didn't really learn about Mormonism and stuff like that till pretty much till I moved to Phoenix.
Mhm.
And there's a ton of Mormons out here for
Oh,
whatever.
so many.
I know, which I was like, oh, really? I had no idea that was a thing,
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
big population center.
I didn't know that because like when I first recognized that enough to say that, like, is there a lot of Mormons out here? Everybody lives like in Phoenix? Oh yeah. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. I didn't know.
Yeah.
We have a
But
beautiful temple out there too.
I wouldn't know, right? So we grew up just old school Mexican Catholic, grandma, mom, everybody super religious. Like I don't know what the English word is, but every night my grandma would do that thing where she'd be like, "Mijo, persínate," which is like do the whole, Father, Son, Holy,
Yeah.
Padre, Hijo, Espíritu Santo. I don't know what you call that in English, but she would do that like to us every night before bed,
Is that the
Yeah.
rosary
and
or whatever.
It's
Huh?
it's the sign of the cross.
yeah,
It's
yeah, but like,
Father,
but
Son, Holy Ghost.
right, but the act of doing it, like whatever that word is, like I'm going to blank my grandson. I don't know what you call that in English, right?
Bless.
So I guess, right, bless.
Sure.
So ask for protection, like whatever, right? So she would do that every
Wait.
night, as an adult. Every time I would see her and leave, she would do it like before I left. She would want to make sure that every little journey, however, just from here to home, that I was safe. Like I definitely loved that element of her and my family and my elders. And so, I don't really have like a sour taste in my mouth with religion. I just don't also like do church and all that stuff either.
Mhm.
But I tend to agree, like obviously there's a lot of bad, but I tend to agree too. There is a lot of good too. And I think that stuff like that is part of it,
I think the intention is important.
Yeah, of course, right. And the
Just
and
like with
the
dog training, like it's not the techniques, it's the intention. behind
right.
the
Well,
thing.
what's the execution, right? Like I get the
Yeah.
theory is one thing, but how did you apply, right? So and do the ends justify means and all that stuff, right? And I consider that part of me just thinking scientifically, right? Like, okay, well, if the end goal is this, can we look into why the end goal is this? And if this makes sense as an end goal, how did we get there? And did getting there diminish, you know what I mean? Like so when you look at it like that, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Some of my best friends and one of my like life mentors in general was not a dog trainer. He was a really religious guy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how we got here, but yeah,
Me either, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like I don't really go to church or anything. I don't even think I don't like have
Our generation is the most agnostic generation.
Yeah.
agnostic is a good word for
Wait,
it.
how old are both of you? Because I need to find out if we're in the same generation or not.
29.
I'm 33.
You're 29.
29.
You're
How old are you
babies.
guys?
I'm 40.
Oh, okay.
Alexis, go.
I'm almost 29.
Oh, there you go. You just
You
called
see
me
the
old too.
cringe? You see the cringe?
I know. What the heck?
Yeah,
She just called me old too.
I know.
I
I just realized like a birthday is not that far off, and I was like, oh, we're getting.
I'm gonna be
there.
30 this year.
You can't stop it. You can't
Yeah.
stop the timeline.
But
Stop the timeline, then the Flash would go back in time, save Superman. Anyways, there's a whole story.
yeah.
I guess I still have. I guess I mean to tie it back to like how we started talking about all this with the Utah thing. I was in Utah for those critical years of like, I'm single and I'm turning 29. I'm just an old hag and will never have any of these things. So that's where the cringe comes in of like, oh, I failed because I have like the Utah
It's
mentality
the
of
conditioning. Yeah.
Oh, because of
I
You're
Utah.
supposed to. She's supposed
Yeah.
to be married with
Oh,
4
you're
kids
very
by
much
now, dude.
conditioned. Like if you're not married by like 19, 20 and popping out kids, you failed at life.
Dude, people really are like that. I had an
But
ex.
that's how
Oh,
Latin
yeah.
culture is too, by the way. Just
No,
so
yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's not a religious thing because I had an ex who wasn't like super religious, but she was like that. Like, I'd like to have a kid by the time I'm like this old, and I'm like, oh, you have to chill. That's like 2 years away. Like, you need to relax.
Mhm.
You know, my fiance, she's not super religious. Like, I'm probably more open to like religion and its concepts and stuff than even she is. But she's like that too. Like, she has kind of a game plan, you know, and yeah, it is funny how she like plans it out like that.
My kids are adults.
Oh, there you go.
How old are your kids?
They turned 19 this year.
Are they
In
twins?
May, they're turning
Whoa.
19.
They're twins.
Hmm.
Oh, nice. Identical or fraternal?
No, fraternal boys.
Oh, okay.
That's cool
Yeah.
though.
I bet that drove you crazy when they're young.
You're like, "I still
Yeah, I only had them
want
till they were 8, and then their dads had them the rest of the time.
Oh, I see. I see.
And they are hyper intelligent young men, and when you see that when they're toddlers, it's a slightly horrifying.
Yeah, it's like little having Belgian Malinois puppies.
Yeah, right.
It
Yeah.
is the younger twin, Scott, he could argue solid like circular logic by the
Yep.
time he was 3.
Oh man, it's you know, I firmly believe a huge portion of my love for dog training came from how many children I had to help raise. Because mind you, we're talking first generation Mexican Catholics. You guys have any idea how many cousins, how many
Yes.
uncles, how many like, so just brothers and sisters, there's 7 of us. And
I'm the
all
youngest of
my-
9.
Yeah, yeah, and all my sisters, all my older sisters have like 4 kids apiece, and all of my female cousins have, like, they go horde. So I've been a master at raising children since I was a child, and
Yeah,
I can change a fucking diaper like in my sleep. It just, you know,
dudes, that is something. Remember when we were drunk in
Yeah,
Phoenix?
yeah.
And we had this conversation.
Yep.
So him and I are very similar in the sense of like drive and so many things, right? But I'm the youngest and he's the oldest.
I'm not the oldest. I'm like a middle child, but there's more younger than me than there are older than me. So
There
I
you go.
definitely play that role of being an older.
Yeah, you had things under you. You had
Exactly.
to take care of and communicate to.
Right.
I'm the youngest, right? And there is this weird psychological part that gets stimulated when I teach and I help people, because it's like I am helping a little sibling, or like I'm helping a brother, right? Or a sister, right? And so there is a little bit of an itch that I do scratch for my own, like I wish I was an older brother, because I would love to take care of things, like take care of people, you know? And what's so funny is like he straight up tells me one day, he goes, well, Brent, the difference between you and me is it's not so much the goal. It's I have so much like ability to understand childish, emotional, stupid stuff that doesn't always necessarily make sense. And I can't tolerate it. I can't tolerate like someone being dumb. I'm like, oh, I can't tolerate you being dumb right now. You're being so dumb, or you're being so irrational, or you're being so emotional, whatever it is. Now, on a professional level, I totally can, but on a personal life level, if someone is being irrational, like just like a kid, right? Like Mariano has so many more reps managing human emotion, and I'm really good at this with dogs, but not with humans.
Well, here's a funny insight that we didn't talk about that day.
Mm.
Was when we were talking about how we all started in dog training.
Mhm.
I learned young, like I probably learned maybe around, like, no joke, like 8, 9 years old, that you cannot, or I guess you could, but it's not optimal, let's say, to suppress the kid's behavior so much as it is optimal to make the alternative behavior make sense to the kid. And so one of my big techniques, because in a weird way, I'm almost like the oldest. Like there are 2 older sisters than me, but I somehow,
Significantly older, no.
Are you the oldest
Um,
boy or the only boy?
I'm the oldest boy. There's only one more boy. All the rest are girls. But so in a Mexican family, that already like kind of puts you as the oldest in a
Mhm.
sense. But also, I end up being the oldest in the sense of I'm the one who takes care of our mom. I'm the one who was taking care of our grandma. I'm the one who
Well, it's your
handles
job as the oldest boy.
well, but also when we talk like finances and things like this, like I'm kind of the one who can do these things. So like so I'm also the one who, like, we have land out in Ensenada who I tend to handle all that, even though it's for all the kids, right? So like in a weird way, I manage everyone, but I learned young, like 8, 9 years old, like you can't, like you can force a kid to do something, like I'll hear my sisters arguing with their kids years ago. I'm talking like I was maybe 20, 21, and my sisters are sort of like 24 and 26. And they're like talking to their kids like, Jacob, go clean your room, go. And they sit there and argue, and the kid's like, but mom. And I can be like, hey, go clean your room. And he goes immediately. And they're like, why does he listen to you like this? And I'm like, all I really do is I talk to him like he's an adult. And I like, meaning I don't like baby talk him, and I make him feel important. Like we'll go to, and I don't let him think that he's ever a burden to me. Like it would annoy me when my sisters, oh, I'm gonna go to the store and buy this and this. Mom, can I go? And they like, and the kid is right there, and you make him sound like he's just such a drag, So she, they would do things like this, and I'd be the one who's like, oh, can I go? Yeah, let's go, get in. And I would just give him things to do just to make him feel like a necessary part of the journey. Like, oh, wait, before you go, do me a favor, go get this thing, and don't forget this other thing. And that thing that I'm like, don't forget, I do not need for any reason at all. He puts it in his head, like, oh, this is important, let me not forget this thing. And then he goes, and you can hear when a kid is proud of themselves, when they repeat your stuff back to you. And Junior, I didn't forget this thing. And I was like, no, you didn't, good job. Like, and they want to tell you their stories, right? And you can also tell when a kid is happy when they talk a lot,
Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll go to the store, I'm not annoyed with him, I just whatever. And I just put him to work, okay, do me a favor, not this aisle, but the next aisle, go get the Cheerios, but the really big box. If you don't know which one's the big one, ask the lady for the, and just give him a little job, which I could have gone myself, but it just makes him important and makes him functional. And because of that, he loves the shit out of me, right? And if I ever have to discipline him in some way, like I don't ever have to I don't have to yell. Like it's just he's so used to, like, this sounds weird, I guess, when you say it, but he's so used to like wanting to work for me for my approval. But he's a kid, like that's kind of what they want, right? So I just give him the opportunity to do it. That if I very calmly show a little disapproval, he's like, oh, that sucks, But then again, I can just give him an alternative, like, Jake, stop arguing, go clean your room, blah, 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 blah. He goes and does it. He comes back, and I can tell he's sad because he's not really talking, So he'll come and kind of sit down and like slowly, gradually, like get closer and closer to you, So I'll get to where I'll lean on him and mess with him or whatever, and I'll talk to him. And he now knows we're cool because he like wasn't sure, you know what I mean? And then immediate blah, 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 blah about whatever the hell. And I know he's happy again, right? So it's fun how having that kind of experience really helps me with employees and really helps me with dogs and really helps me. Like I love it. And like with anything, relationships of all sorts, and my mom, dude, like just anything about anything. I love being able to like guide somebody through something, because my mom's obviously my mother, but she's also like, she's not quite fully, and she's been here for years, obviously, but she's not quite fully acclimated to like the American lifestyle. So little things I still have to coach her,
Yeah. That makes sense. I had children, and so I have a lot of patience most of the time.
Yeah.
Not most of the time.
Because they outnumbered me for their entire like first 8 years. There was 2 of them and 1 of me.
Seems pretty fair.
Yeah. I have 2 feet to put up 2 asses if you guys aren't listening.
Yeah, never. I have one who was really argumentative and one who was incredibly sensitive.
Oh.
So I had to learn to figure out how to like approach them separately.
Yeah, each one. Yep.
Because with Jacob, if I raised my voice, he would cry. With Scott, if I sounded remotely irritated, he had an entire backup argument and possibly some PowerPoint slides by the time he was like 3 years old.
He opens his little briefcase and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. And so arguing with him was just exhausting, especially because he's a toddler. So he doesn't know real logic. He just knows circular logic.
Right.
But it makes sense to him.
Right. Yeah.
So it was having to learn to approach them differently. And I've got a lot of nephews and nieces because I come from a ridiculously large family also.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
So
What
it's
number are you
and
out of
lots and lots
9?
of cousins.
What number are you out of 9?
9.
I know, but what number are you? Where?
9.
No.
She's the ninth. She's
Oh,
the
you're
youngest.
number 9. You're the youngest
Yeah,
of 9.
I
Oh,
am.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also second generation American. My grandmother was born in Russia.
Wow.
So we have a big, loud family that has a lot of like the weird quirks of being an ethnic family without any of the linguistic problems.
Mm.
Because my grandmother died when I was 9, and all of us speak English.
Yeah.
Yup.
That's so funny because like in dog training, I'll have some foreign clients and they'll try and be like out, like to drop a toy, or they'll be like out, out. And I said, what would you say in your native tongue? And then they'll be like, Sruftakov, right? They'll say something, whatever the fucking word is. And it comes out with this emotion that they fucking mean it. And the dog listens. And you're like, whoa, just because they say it in their native tongue, right? Because there's so much connection to emotion in your native tongue. It's crazy.
Well, and I think because they don't run it through that filter. Like,
Yeah.
like I speak English and Spanish, and I speak them both well enough to like actually speak them and read and write them and stuff like that. But my filter now, after all these years, is English. Like my internal monologue is English. So if I'm reading something in Spanish, I'm like actively translating it. You know what I mean? So, and it's the weirdest thing because Spanish, I'm more like English. I'm more fluent. I can freestyle. Like I can do all these things in English, but Spanish.
Mariano's a real good freestyler, by the way.
Yeah, like a
just so
freestyle
you
rapper.
guys
I'm
know.
super good. In English. And in Spanish, I find more comfort. Like this is the weirdest sounding thing, but I'm more open in Spanish. Like as a person in public, I'm more like it's easier for me to engage a group of people in Spanish than it is in English. It's the strangest thing. Like I have these different utilities for these different, because they like activate different parts of my like emotional, you know. But yeah, I love it. It's super fun kind of looking at how people learn things and you know and how all that comes out, you know. So super long story short, I guess that's why we started the podcast.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. Huh?
Yeah.
That was what we were talking about
Yeah.
there. It
Yeah.
also applies to dog training though, because you
Yeah.
learn to
Yeah.
adjust and adapt for training.
Yep.
Well,
Totally.
and I'll tell you something, about the podcast real quick. We got real lucky, right? There's this definition of what luck is, right? And it's when opportunity meets preparation, right? And so we didn't know COVID was going to be a thing. We didn't know that everyone was all of a sudden going to be stuck in their houses, right? So one of the first interviews we get is Tyler Muto. And if you guys know Tyler Muto, he is not the most famous dog trainer, but he is the guy that he's every dog trainer's favorite dog trainer. Meaning he's just a cool guy. He gets along with everybody. He knows everyone. You know, he was the president of the IACP for several years. Right?
No, he was the youngest president in IACP history.
Youngest in history, and also held the position for several years. And so a lot of people knew Tyler and respected Tyler. And then one of the second biggest guests we get is Michael Ellis.
Yeah.
So we're just like, holy shit. And the only reason that we got these guests was because it was COVID and no one was doing anything. Everyone was stuck at the house. And Michael was like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Happy to. And we were just like, oh shit. Michael Ellis just said he'd do our podcast, right? Now, like I'll text Michael Ellis like 5 times. He responds 1 time, you know, so like he definitely is more busy now than he was before. But we do have plans to go do a trip to go visit.
Yeah, go see him in Santa Rosa
very soon. But like we got lucky, right? So it was again, it's when opportunity meets preparation, where like we in our own right, we've been preparing our whole lives to have a podcast, right? And we didn't know it, but we did. And then all of a sudden this opportunity where, okay, COVID's a thing, everyone's at home's a thing. And then we keep each other accountable. We push each other every day. Like I talk to him at least cumulatively 1 hour a day.
Yeah. Every single day.
Every single day, 1 hour a day. And we're talking about ideas and we're talking about this and we're talking about that. And who else do we want to interview? How about this person? I don't know. We shouldn't interview that person. We should interview this person instead. Oh, that person has like some shitty things going on the internet. So let's not interview them right now. Like we have a process going on, but ultimately it started because we had a good idea, and we've been preparing all our whole life. Didn't know that we've been preparing our whole life for it. And because of COVID, people listened to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
People started getting into the trajectory. We had a huge following in South America because we're Latin, right? And so many people were like, "You want to do a podcast in Spanish?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I don't know Spanish that well. God damn it." And then for some reason in Australia, we have a huge following in Australia. We're actually interviewing the guys from Canine Paradigm
Canine
really
Paradigm.
soon.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a funny two podcast hosts interviewing two podcast hosts, which will be funny, right? Like this, just like this. And it's we just, I mean, it is luck, but at the same time, it's like we're really fortunate and really grateful that it happened. And we are constantly looking at different ways to serve the new dog trainer community as much as we can, because that's my passion, that's his passion. And like that's why we've done a lot of these trips to go, like we're actually doing the documentary series, which is cool. And that we have to finish our first episode with Tyler Muda. We have to finish that and put it out on the internet.